Hello, everyone. I remembered to get off of mute. I am a well-oiled machine. It's happening. Although this is not happening, but whatever. It's going to be a long weekend. I'm just prepared for the fact that I will not have all the time that I want to drink my coffee, make myself presentable. It is what it is. It is what it is. Hey, everyone. Welcome to After Hours, Perty Nerdy After Hours. This is my cozy creative podcast with storytelling, world building, and nerdy rabbit holes at its heart. We're going to get this thing started off because I have learned that I like to go off the rails, as you may have learned. So, I want to get started with Worldbuilding 2. I guess we're going to call it Worldbuilding 2. I have started a world building series that I'm going to include in my What's Lighting My Bulb segment based off of the request of a viewer. So, what is world building 2? Last week we talked about what is world building and what isn't world building. I figured before we start getting into the how-to of world building, we should define what it is and what it isn't. Now that we have an idea what it is, let's talk about finding ideas. I think most authors, once they kind of hit like a certain level of acclaim, let's just say, they say that the number one question they get asked is, where do you get your ideas? And I think the majority of folks who are world builders, who are writers, who are TTRPG enthusiasts, my theory is that probably the majority of them already have a level of creativity where ideas can come easily. But that's not to say that every writer, every TTRPG creator, that is the case. So I kind of wanted to dig into that. Like for myself, I would say ideas are cheap. Ideas are easy. I can look at a toaster and probably get 5 ideas right off the bat. That is not something that I think happens to everyone. And it doesn't mean that you're bad at it. It just means that that's not something that your brain is wired for when it comes to approaching a situation, an issue, a problem. So I don't want to come at this with the idea that if you're not good at generating ideas, you can get better at this, that it is a skill you can get better at. I mean, there are tools you can use that will make things easier, but I just want to make sure I'm trying to be very clear off of the bat. Like, there is a difference between looking at a toaster and immediately having 5 ideas versus looking at a toaster and utilizing tools that are available to help you come up with ideas that you can do with a toaster. So, ideas are typically not the hard part, I think, for folks in our realm, I would think. So, I just want to make sure, like I said, as I'm covering this topic, I want to make sure I'm not, and if I am, please let me know. But to me, saying, oh, well, you can just develop this skill is like saying to an introvert, well, you can just learn to get energy by being around people. Like, you can just work on that. Like, that's not how things work. Get out of here, you. All right. Ugh. Every stream, there's somebody that just jumps in that should not be in here. All right. So, with that in mind, I want to talk about all the different tools that are available to help you generate ideas or to help you develop the ideas that you get. There are things you can do to kind of like start getting, like I said, I don't want to say you're getting better at it, but there are aspects externally from like just getting the idea that can help you kind of become better at it. It's like, I'm trying to figure out, maybe this isn't the part that I need to focus on, is the explaining of that. Let's just move on to ways to get ideas. There are so many. There are so many. So I think some people, maybe especially early writers, early world builders, will think like, well, inspiration should just strike. I think that is a phrase people say, like inspiration strikes you. Um, I kind of disagree with that statement. I don't think that inspiration is lightning in a bottle. I don't think that is the case. I think that inspiration can be two ideas that happen to collide and make a new thing, right? And you observe or notice or pick up on this new thing. It is looking at something and saying, what if? It is changing the perspective. Instead of this story being about a toaster, what if it's a story being told from the perspective of the toaster, right? Like there's different ways of looking at something. So I want to say that inspiration is different from observation, and that you can develop your level of skill with observation, which then leads to inspiration. So I think it's kind of like seeing things that other people might ignore. For example, let's talk about observation. You are visiting a town, and if you kind of start to develop your skills of observation, you may realize that this town only has one coffee shop. That's something that maybe other people would not pick up on. But you notice that this town only has one coffee shop. Why? Why does it? That's interesting. Let's dig deeper into that. Why are there shoes hanging from the telephone wire? Some people may not notice that, but you can start to develop skills of observation where you start looking at things and kind of asking those questions about why or how did that happen. Why does every fantasy city have a tavern? What if it didn't? So there's kind of this like give and pull with observation followed by questions, which then can lead to observation. Hey there, I be. Hey, Geeky, how are you? So I also think, aside from observation, it is kind of making that unexpected connection. For example, I really like trying to find examples that make this relatable or understandable. If you've been following any of my conversations about my creation of liquid hot magma, I took Tomb of Horrors, AD&D Tomb of Horrors, which is a notoriously deadly dungeon, and then said, okay, what if I can combine it with something like over-the-top ridiculous like Austin Powers? And now the collision of these two things went, oh my gosh, I have so many ideas, and what about this, and what about this, and oh my gosh. And so there's kind of this unexpected, like two things that have absolutely nothing to do with each other, but you can start kind of forming these invisible connections, which then create some inspiration. None of these ideas are original, right? Tomb of Horrors, a deadly dungeon, that's not an original idea. Austin Powers, James Bond, International Spy, over-the-top campy stuff, none of that is original in itself. But the combination of it, and then the invisible connections you make, those can be original ideas. All right. So I talked about asking questions, right? You observe, you ask questions. So curiosity, I think, is what creates the idea, right? If you come at something from the angle of curiosity, asking the questions, why is there only one coffee shop? Why are there shoes hanging from the telephone wire? Why are all the buildings blue? Like, you could ask a really weird, nonsensical question, and that leads to a bunch of crazy ideas. What if? There's another question. What if all the buildings were blue? Well, that's interesting. What if all the buildings were blue? What does that mean for this locale, for the people? Why not? That's another question. Why not? Why aren't the buildings any other color? Or, why not? Why is maybe that's the status quo. All buildings should be blue, but maybe there's a section of the world where they aren't blue. Why not? So these questions coming at something from a place of curiosity and asking, I know it sounds like, we kind of make fun of like, the typical 2-year-old that keeps asking like, but why? But why? But why? But that is kind of how you can drill deeper into something to generate more ideas. Why are the buildings all blue? Because the color repels monsters. Like, kind of look for an answer that maybe isn't, why are all the buildings blue? Because someone painted them blue. That doesn't help you generate ideas. Come up with something that is like, it makes no sense, and then try to find a way to make it make sense. Hey, redeemed random bean you. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. And hydrate and roll for aroma. Everybody, how do you know when geeky is in the stream? um, so funny. Okay, so let's go back to the blue buildings. Why are all the buildings blue? Because the stone in this region is blue. Okay. Again, that keeps, like, that almost in itself starts exponentially creating more questions. Well, but why is it only in this locale? What makes them blue? Why are all the buildings blue? Because it's an ancient law that has carried over through now, or now it's irrelevant. It used to be a law, but now it's not. Okay, now that starts kind of giving you some questions about the history of this place and what led to everything. Or like, what did we say? Like, why there was a giant, monsters. Yeah. Why can't the giant sea creature, maybe it was to protect their town from a giant sea creature. Then why can't that giant sea creature see blue? Or, what does the sea creature want that prompted the town to paint their buildings blue to avoid this? There's so many questions. Start with one and then kind of start drilling down from there. But don't go for that obvious answer, especially if you want something that is intriguing, interesting. If it's interesting to you, it's going to potentially be interesting to other folks, right? Let's talk about, instead of being a 2-year-old and asking all those questions, before I move on, I guess I will do this random bean, hydrate, and roll for aroma. Thank you so much, Geeky. Oh no, we have an ad that I am going to push off while we do this real quick. All right, so let me hydrate. Boop. That was my first water of the day. It's been mostly coffee so far. All right. And then we're going to roll for aroma. I'm sorry if I'm pushing through this, Geeky. I want to make sure I cover everything. 11. I don't think we've gotten that number before. 1, 2, 3, so 8, 9, 10, 11. I just talked about this the other day. Turmeric. I was like, oh, this would be so interesting. Let me smell it in the bottle real quick. Okay. If you're familiar with turmeric, it definitely has the smell of turmeric. It doesn't smell very strong. And it kind of almost has like I don't even know how to explain it. There's like, when you smell something spicy, but not like hot sauce, because usually with hot sauce, vinegar kind of takes over. But when you smell something spicy and it kind of hits you in the back of the nose that, oh, if I taste this, it's going to be spicy. You kind of get that with turmeric. But on the skin, it almost has like it's definitely an exotic smell. Oh, I don't know how to describe this one. It is so unique. I love it though. I love turmeric, especially in my teas. I'm going to have to think on that one, on how to describe. This is a hard one. Not to make it sound like it smells bad, But if you've ever been to an older home, like a craftsman home where everything was built with wood, right? And it's been 50 years and that wood kind of has a smell like it's been lived in. It kind of has that smell a little bit. And I know that doesn't always sound appealing the way I describe things. I'm just trying to hit it where it's describe it where it's hitting me. All right. Anyway, it's so interesting. And then it kind of has like a hint of like Indian spices and yeah. All right. Thank you so much for redeeming that. And then of course, Random Bean. Boy, am I looking forward to this tomorrow. So if you don't know, I'm going to be doing an Oh How writing stream for charity. I'm going to close my eyes. And for some stretch goals, I have a bag of entirely black jelly beans that I will eat if we make it to goal. Or maybe past, I'm not sure. Excuse me. This does kind of feel like licorice and I'm afraid to eat it. Because I know I'm going to have to do it this weekend anyway. Here we go. Okay. Boy, they got me a lot last week. I had a lot of licorice last week. That one tastes like, I don't know, green apple or lemon or something. I'm not sure what that is. Yummy. Thank you. How many beans are we talking about? I think I have like something like 10, at least 10 licorice jelly beans that I might eat all at once. So, Geeky, if you want that, you got to help me raise $100 for Operation Literacy. All right. Which, by the way, sorry, I know we're on topic world building too, but I do want to say, I have already made the charity live. If you are on computer, you should be able to see it in the chat, at the top of the chat. I'm not sure. This is my first time doing it. But there is an automated timer chat bot that is also going to tell you how to see the charity if you're on mobile. There is a link. So, and I believe I also put that link at the very top of the chat when I started. So if you're on mobile, if you're not seeing any place to donate and you would like to, there is a link for that. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right. Oh, by the way, Geeky, thank you for redeeming. What was that? That was Roll for Aroma. That was Random Bean. And of course, Hydrate. Thank you so much. All right. Let's get back to generating ideas. How do you get your ideas is where we're going with world building, right? So, aside from the fact that my podcast, we're on what, episode 8 right now? Aside from the fact that my podcast has a whole segment called Ad-Hoc Hooey, oh my goodness, there's going to be an ad. I'm sorry, I do apologize. If you are not a subscriber, there will be an ad if you're live here on Twitch. However, I am going to continue. I will also post show notes in my Ko-Fi. So if you do not already follow my Ko-Fi, you can get all this information on my Ko-Fi later as well. All right. We're off the rails. I don't know if you guys heard that, but that was the biggest, longest fart that Booger has done. And he's just right there. Anyway. Okay. So Ad-Hoc Hooey. Essentially, I roll off of a table of prompts, and then I try to string together those random prompts, which is one of the things that I love about world building. Yes, the dog did it. Yes, the dog did. I would claim them. If you know me, I will claim them. Anyway, I think the ad started, so that was probably a great place for the ad to start. Anyway, aside from Ad-Hoc Hooey, there are random word generators, and I'm going to copy this link. Copy link. I'm going to drop this link in here. I love this random word generator, and you can tell it how many random words to generate. You know what? Maybe I think I said I was going to do pirates. I'll do pirates. Next week, I'll do the word generator as an Ad-Hoc Hooey, so you can see how it works. But you can tell it, I think, to generate up to like 10 random words, and it literally will, and then you can try to string some of those together for some interesting ideas. I honestly have a theory that if you watch Family Guy long enough, I think sometimes their episodes, they just do that. They just like generate some random words and go, yeah, this is what the episode's going to be about. So, um, anyway, random word generator. If it's something that you're new to, I would generate like 2 words. And then just start with like a couple of sentences of how can I connect, I don't know, toaster to World War X. And in your brain, come up with a single sentence or a couple of sentences that connects those two. And then when that begins to feel easy, ramp yourself up to 3 words, 4 words. See if you can get to 10 words and using all 10 words in a story, in a paragraph, how you're, and don't just string them together to where it's like the toaster walked down the street one day and said to itself, gee, I wonder when World War X will happen. Like, I guess kind of that could be a story, but what I'm saying is like really dig into like, but how is the toaster walking? World War X, what happened to World War 9 and 8 and 7? What and you know, how is this toaster involved in this world? Anyway, there's so many other questions you could be thinking of to dig deeper than just a surface sentence. The other thing I would suggest, too, if you are new to connecting random things like that, I've talked about 6 Degrees with Mike Rowe. It was a not new show, but new to me that I found. I think it's on Amazon Prime. And that is a great example of watching how one random item can connect to another random item through weird events in history that makes such an interesting story. All right, let's see. So the other avenue I suggest, it is one of my favorites when it comes to world building and getting ideas, is Wikipedia, an encyclopedia, documentaries, things of that nature, because there's so much out in the world that you don't know. I'm telling you right now, there is no possible way any one human can know everything there is in our universe. There is something out there that you don't know about, and you can find out about it. And usually something like that, introducing something new to you, a new thing about history you didn't learn, a new concept, a new medicine, maybe it's not even a new animal, but it's like a fact about animals that you didn't know about. And those things can be so interesting. Or it could even be, what is it? Like is it ancient aliens? I'm trying to think. Like, so these are people who are, I mean, I don't want to say they're proving things, but boy, they're asking some really good questions. And it makes you wonder, like, did aliens really create the pyramids? Like, there's all kinds of stuff that's so interesting and not necessarily true, but can inspire so much inside of you. I have a very perfect example for this. I was watching a documentary, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was about animals and the animal kingdom. And I think it was elephants or rhinos. I can't quite remember. It was a large animal that had a bunch of birds. It was all about symbiotic relationships, and the birds live on this large animal and like eat the pests that live on this large animal. And that inspired in me, I don't think it actually ever came to fruition because my players decided to go zoop somewhere else. But it inspired in me an idea to have an adventure where this creature is gargantuan. Like, if I had a battle map on a table, their footprint, 1 foot, would probably be like a 30-foot circle. So imagine being a character looking up. You can barely see the head of this creature. And they're sent to, I think it might be rhinos, yeah. But imagine being sent as a party not to do anything with this large creature. You're being sent to collect these tiny little, like, insects or birds or whatever that follow this creature. These birds are needed because, I don't know, they can be used to create medicine, or they're wanted for their eggs, or, you know, whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything very violent, but they have to find their way, navigate around the steps of this large creature who could kill them without even noticing, and collect these birds. So super cool, fun idea just by watching like Animal Planet. um, let's see. News headlines and real history. Okay. I really love, if anybody else has followed me. Hold on. Do I have it here? Where is it? Oh no. Here it is. If you haven't caught it on any of my other like podcasts or interviews or anything, as a kid, I collected newspaper clippings of horrible things. But I collected newspaper clippings because to me, they inspired stories. Whether it was the actual story itself or the news headline. So imagine taking a news headline like "Bridge closed after mysterious sinkhole," right? And you may not even read into the rest of the story. But then ask yourself, okay, how can I turn this into fantasy? How can I turn this into sci-fi? Whatever it is you're working on. So let's say it's fantasy. If a bridge closed after mysterious sinkhole, maybe instead the story is mountain pass closes because something underneath woke up. And just that news headline can kind of inspire, like basically read the news and go, okay, but let's make it fantasy. And you can immediately kind of borrow, like don't steal or copy the story exactly, but borrow that structure and use that as an adventure, as a plot, as a conflict in your story. And you can do the same thing with real history. I think I've heard so many people say that they've borrowed from real war and the strategy and the strategy involved with war in their books. Because, I mean, large scale war is not something we operate on a daily basis, right? Like the average person may not understand how war tactics on a grand scale work. But we can look at history and go, oh, this is so interesting. Let's watch these documentaries and understand why they made these choices and how that led to victory or how that led to their failure. That is so interesting. Now let's use that in our story. Let's see. I write stuff based in history all the time, especially for Weird West. Weird West sounds like a great title, by the way. All right. What about instead of like news headlines and stuff, what about the real history of an item? It could be a statue. Well, why was the statue created? Who was it for? Why were they great? Or not, maybe not great. Maybe there was some other reason why a statue was made of them. If it's not a statue, it could just be like this pocket watch. What's the history of this pocket watch? Who made it? Why did they make it this way? Is it special? Like you can kind of start digging into the history of an item and start learning about like how pocket watches are made and what can you do to make this thing different. That can start leading to some interesting paths. We can talk about constraints and elimination because that is also very interesting. What if you looked at a world and said, okay, here's my world, but no metal at all. Let's remove metal from our world. What does that world look like? There's no minerals in the mountains. Like, I mean, you could probably dig even deeper. Like, I mean, does magnetism exist and no one just knows about it? Or is there, I guess there would be no magnet. I don't know. Like, it creates some really interesting questions. Constraints and elimination. So constraints would be it's an extreme of all of this thing is this, or elimination is there is none of this. So if you approach from that angle, think about, all houses in the world are blue. Okay. That is a constraint that we now need to figure out, but why? Or it could be there is absolutely no metal in this world. Or there is no color blue in this world. What does that mean? Does that mean that the ocean is technically blue, but no one has a word for it, or like it's not actually blue. Like you could really create some interesting pathways with just that. Uh, Reverse expectations. This is a great way to come up with some ideas. I mean, this is something that I think a lot of people have done, but that doesn't mean that it's overdone. You can find a way to make it your own. All dragons breathe fire. What if dragons hated fire? Or, I mean, I said all dragons breathe fire as in like a, not a factual statement, but, find something that you can reverse. What if in your world everybody was a villain and there's only one good guy? So instead of a BBEG, big bad evil guy, you've got a BBGG? I don't know. What would that look like? It'd be so interesting. I would also, if ideas are something that don't come, if you feel they don't come easily to you, I would highly suggest carrying around a notebook, a file, a place, for you to save things on your phone, something that is always going to be easily accessible to you. As you start to try to build the skills of observation, you want to make sure you have somewhere to put that observation. Reward yourself for observing the thing. Because if you don't, you aren't, it's almost like you're not developing that skill, right? I know a bunch of people who say, like, I don't dream. I don't ever have dreams. I don't remember dreaming. When in fact, let me rephrase that. I hate saying extremes, and I'm not going to say in fact, but what I do believe is happening, when I've had conversations with folks about their dreams, if they started dream journaling, or like have a journal next to their bed, and they wake up and the first thing they do is write down anything they remember, they realize they actually do dream way more often, and they start to remember their dreams because they are now creating a practice whereby they're forcing themselves to remember and notate, which then commits it to memory. And then now they remember that they dream. So this is kind of a practice that you want to develop. If you observe something, you want to notate it. To get into the habit of observing things more, keeping that skill active, but then also kind of doing that little payoff of like, if I write this thing down, I will remember it. And then that also allows you to now like free up that space. Okay, I did the thing. I wrote it down. I can always come back to this thing, so I don't have to remember it. Granted, usually when you write it down, you remember it. But anyway, I don't have to remember this now. I have a list, whether it's on paper, in a notebook, on your phone. I will tell you, I have a million different like story idea files that I keep. So I highly suggest that. That way, if you notice an interesting door, wow, this door is such an interesting shade, or it has such interesting markings, or, oh, look, it has this really cool door knocker on it. Like, that is interesting. I want to put that in my world. Or it sparks a question of like, why are all the houses here? That one house has a blue door. Okay, that's interesting. This one house has a blue door. Let's write that down. Let's think about that later. Or like let it percolate in the back of my brain for now. But right now, all I know is there is one house with a blue door. It could be a really funny sign. It could be, this is for me key because I struggle with characters and making sure that my characters sound like unique from each other, is speech patterns, dialogue between two people, and conversation. You will hear, especially like if you're hanging out with your friends or your family. I mean, I'm not saying to spy on them, but you will hear bits of conversation where person A is talking to person B, and that conversation can be so formal and polite, and then person A is now talking to person C, and that conversation, there's shorthand involved because they've known each other for years, and the cadence changes. They're speaking a lot faster, and they have inside jokes. There could also be words, not just special words that they use, but what am I trying to think of? What's the word? Accents. There could be words that they misuse, which could be so interesting, and it does happen. So that helps to make your character unique. I do a lot of paying attention to conversations and will write interesting phrases down that I like. If you know me long enough, you will hear me say, ooh, interesting use of the word, whatever, insert word. Whenever I hear someone use a word that's like, wow, no one really uses that in today's language, but that was completely appropriate for that moment. What a great use of that word. And I will say that so many, oh, what a great use of that word. So I will notate those things. It could be something like the interesting architecture of a building, or this really cool cloud that looks like someone's flipping you the finger. Like, all these things are observation moments that you can write down and tuck away for future inspiration. I would almost say, even if it doesn't inspire you in the moment, it might later. It might be something like, wow, I don't know what I'm going to do with a cloud that's shaped like a middle finger, but it's interesting. Let me write it down. And then somewhere down the line, when you have accumulated 1,000 ideas and you find yourself with a moment of like, oh, I really need something interesting in the sky to look at, that is poignant for this moment. Oh yeah, look, I remember I saw a cloud that looked like a middle finger. Let's plop that in, So you don't have to necessarily be inspired by it in the moment, but if it's something intriguing to you and worth noting, it might literally be worth noting. So, wow, this segment got really big. We're at like it's 44, so 34 minutes because of the 10-minute lead in, but I do want to talk about people like me will struggle with the opposite effect, which is we have too many ideas. Too many ideas. How do you like knuckle down to like the ideas that you really want to go with? Because it's really hard when you have too many ideas. I like to go back to the notebook. Because if I at least write that idea down, I have so many ideas. If I at least write it down, that is giving me permission to say, I will come back to this. It is still here. And I know there's a little bit of a worry of like, oh, but if I don't work on this idea right now, someone else is going to get it. I think at this point, especially folks who like, we imbibe tons of books, imbibe. Is that even the right? That's not the right. Anyway, if we take in a lot of movies, a lot of books, all these things, I think we can say the phrase, there's no original story under the sun, right? Like, that's not necessarily true, but there is a big surge in like, movie remakes and books being turned into movies, and it feels like we have no original ideas. But that's not really the case, because how many times have we seen the movie Cinderella but rehashed in a different way? Like it was the Disney movie, but it was also, I don't know, wasn't there like a Lindsay Lohan version of Cinderella, and then there was, like the live action, and we still watch them. And that is taking something that is an actual like rehash. You can still tell the story of Cinderella, and if you have a unique voice, a storytelling voice, it will still be interesting to other people, and you will have a unique way of telling that story that no other person can tell in that way. So I've learned to tell myself that yes, I have so many ideas. Yes, I'm worried someone might do it before me. But will they do it exactly the way I do it? No, probably not. And will they have thought of all the little minutia for their world that I did? Probably not. It may be similar. It's not going to be the same. So give yourself the permission to put that idea down and save it. That's my advice anyway. All right, so we got to move on, man, because this is such a big topic. But what I'm going to tell you for homework is to try one of these methods if you struggle with ideas. If you don't struggle with ideas, the homework then is find a way to save your ideas somewhere so that you can give yourself permission to put those ideas down and focus on the ones that you need to focus on right now. Because as a writer, as a world builder, it is very easy to chase the shiny new idea and then you never get anything done. And you need to be able to finish at least one of them, if not more, right? So however that looks for you, too many ideas, the homework is find a way to save your ideas somewhere to put one or more down. For the people who struggle with ideas, then try one of these other methods to create. And at the very least, use the random word generator and generate 2 words and create a story connecting these 2 random words. Let's move on because we have so much to do. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, I said I would do it. I'm going to have to do it. Excuse me. Okay. State of the Nerd, very quickly. It is Friday, July 10th. This is the beginning of my Oh How 100 Hours of Writing streaming weekend and the virtual MagmaCon gaming weekend. There are links out there for all of it. If you follow me on all my socials, but I will also drop them here because I feel responsible and need to. I will be having a charity stream tomorrow, Saturday, 7 p.m. Pacific. That is this link right there, where I will be doing one of my writing sprints, but I will also be actively raising money for Operation Literacy during that stream. Operation Literacy, you can learn more here, but I'm going to talk more about it tomorrow during my stream. And MagmaCon. If you're watching me and you don't have a ticket to MagmaCon and you do want to play... Oh no, I can't snooze that ad. Are you kidding me? Okay, let me say this in under a minute. That was Operation Literacy. Hold on, that was the wrong link. MagmaCon. If you don't have a badge for MagmaCon and you want one, go to the link that I am putting in here now, and then use the code MagmaPals for 40% off your ticket. And then sign up for one of my games. I think there's an ad about to start. So if you are not subscribed, we're about to start some Ad-Hoc Hooey. So I'm just going to roll up some of this pirate setting stuff and we're going to get to it. I won't start officially until you get back from the break. I just need to find a D6 somewhere. I have a D6. Wow. I have so many dice that I can't even find a D6. Come on. Here we go. Oh, look at that. It's a D6 with a skull in it. Okay. All right. Let's see what we get for Ad-Hoc Hooey. I have to do the official Ad-Hoc Hooey. Okay, we have... Oh, good. We're getting different stuff. All right, so let me find a color. What's our color? This is our last set of Ad-Hoc Hooey before we move on to some other topic. This is our last set of pirate Ad-Hoc Hooey. La 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 la. Just gonna roll these up quick. Oops. Okay. 3. We already got 3, so I'm gonna see if I can get something else here. Good. Oh, fun. Fun. Okay. And yeah, I'll roll those in a minute. Are we back from the break? Yes, we are. Okay. Testing. Okay, yep, there we go. Okay. Sorry, I had a little whisper. Yay, pirates! All right, here we go. So, For the setting, I rolled a 4, which is a tropical island or atoll. And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. It just sounds like a weird word to me. Atoll? Atoll? Atoll. Anyway, you know how an island is like, imagine like a hill sticking up out of the ocean? Well, an atoll is like, imagine that island being like a donut, is my understanding. So I love that idea. And of course, because I like this like shape of a donut, I'm leaning towards that right now. The plot. I rolled a 2, which means that strange lights beneath the waves are luring ships onto hidden reefs. Which, now that I start thinking about the shape of this atoll, it's like, what if it was mostly an O, but there was like a little opening, right? And the ships can kind of come in to the middle, but there is like a hidden reef structure. I'm doing all these shapes. I don't even know if I don't know if that's a gifable moment. But anyway, I feel like the gateway to this atoll, there is a coral reef hidden beneath the waves. So even though it looks like a larger ship could go in, it's really meant for like boats, smaller boats. And there are strange lights beneath the waves luring the ships onto hidden reefs, which then leads me to believe there's strange lights within the middle of this atoll that are yeah, why? Trying to think. Okay, so I have the setting, I have the plot. Let's talk about the encounter and see if that helps me to kind of draw better lines between the three. So the encounter I rolled was 3, which is a chase through a coral maze, which is crazy to me that like this all lined up as it did. I did roll a duplicate for that one, which was social negotiations, but we had already done that one. Thank you for clipping my donut. So I thought, let's roll again. And then I got the chase through the coral maze, which I thought sounded so interesting. So, okay. I'm going to, again, not that my brain ever goes in the best places. I'm just going to kind of like word vomit and tell you where my brain is going. I envision this donut shaped. Mostly, it's like, imagine a donut with a bite taken out of it. That's the best way to do it. So it's like a donut with a bite taken out of it. And it's more like a rocky, like, it's not sandy. It's like rocky, cliffy kind of, like, imagine if you took a volcano and then you just like sunk it, right? So that there's this kind of crater in the middle and these rocky walls along the outside with an opening. And there are lights in the center of this crater that are drawing ships in. Now, when I think of chase through a coral maze, the first thing that came to my brain was like, well, there's that coral leading in that would typically stop larger ships from coming in and only allow you to do like smaller, canoes or boats or like, yachts, if there's yachts, something to that effect. But if you get through, then I kind of imagine that it like sucks you. I don't know why my brain did this, because chase through a coral maze to me then means like underwater. Coral is underwater. So then does it suck the ship into the crater? And now there's like a coral maze that you have to navigate through. But then that kind of starts getting me asking other questions that it's like, I don't know if this is the best way for this to go, because you would obviously die. If you're sucked underwater and you're pulled through you have to go through a maze at some point. You either need to be able to breathe water, or you die. How long is this maze? These are questions I'm asking myself. Is this the right direction to go? What ideas are you getting? Because I, for right now, am a little stuck. But here's what I like to do. So I always start with those first 3, setting, plot, and encounter. And then sometimes when I roll up NPCs and loot, I get more ideas that make this idea more firm. So let's roll an NPC, which I have 3, which I had already had before, which was Shipwreck Salvager. So I'm going to roll again. Which I also got that one. So maybe I should just choose one that I haven't had yet. I don't know. Oh no, that fell off the desk. It really wants me to use 3. Shipwreck Salvager. I'm going to see if I can do this, because I did say in the beginning that even if we get duplicates, that doesn't mean that we can't use them. You can use a Shipwreck Salvager in so many different ways. It's not like you only need to use them once and, well, that idea was used up and dry. There's other ways we can use this Shipwreck Salvager. So, a Shipwreck Salvager. Obviously, these ships are wrecking when they try to enter. They're getting lured into this open hole of a donut island, and they are shipwrecking, which means, oh, this is so interesting. So the outside of the donut may have like a bunch of shipwrecks, like kind of building up to it, like not building up to it. What am I saying? Accumulating. And maybe from these shipwrecks, there was one survivor, and he or she has now made a living. Oh, now are they luring? Are they the ones luring people in? Because how else? If they can't get off the island, they need supplies, they need food, possibly companionship. I don't know. So they could be luring other ships in. And if they crash, then he's like, well, I get supplies. But if they don't crash, then what? Okay. I'm still thinking. That was the NPC. Okay, so we went with Shipwreck Salvager. All right. Feel free to chime in, folks, if you have ideas. If this is giving you ideas. I am just showing you my process. All right. What do we have for loot? Excuse me. We have a coin from a sunken empire. I love how these things feel like I just planned it. Because sunken empire then means to me, okay, whatever is, if you make it through the coral into the center of the donut island, you get sucked down into a coral maze, which is part of or is a sunken empire. Okay, so now, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to roll this coin up, but I'm starting to see this Shipwreck Salvager in a different light, because I'm wondering if this Shipwreck Salvager is actually someone from this sunken empire, and they are luring ships in to crash into this like coral reef as like it's almost like a beaver building a dam, right? We're like, we don't want people to come into our sunken empire. So this one guy, or I keep saying guy, but you know, this person is responsible for finding a way to do that. And so they live above surface and have created this process whereby we're going to create a dam with these shipwrecks. So almost like a surface dweller of whoever lives in this sunken empire. Now the coin to me then is like, is that, so that's from the sunken empire. Is that this person's way of communicating with those below the surface? Is it this person's way of like quickly getting to and from below surface to above surface? Like a little teleportation coin or a communication coin. That's where my brain is going. It almost feels like, you know, when you have to pay the ferryman, right? So the coin is like, I'm just gonna, I don't know, throw the coin in the water and then boom. And then when he wants to come back up to the surface, he has to make sure he brings another coin. I kind of like that idea. I like the idea. It's almost like then that could spawn the idea of throwing coins into fountains, of like, I really like this. Like a Venus flytrap, but the ship supplies help maintain the city. Yeah. Yeah. That's I really like imagine um I think it was on your stream, Geeky, we were talking about Ariel of Little Mermaid, and like imagine if this underwater society, this is how they collect like overworld artifacts. And then they bring them down to beneath the surface and they're like, look at this dinglehopper thing. It's like, what is it? We don't know what it is, but it's so cool. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. All right. I think we did it. I think we did it. I think I was able to string all those things together in a way that sounds plausibly adventurous and interesting. Is it going to be, like fully factual and work with gravity and no. But I don't deal with facts. I deal with fantasy. I liked that one. I think that was a great one to end Pirates on. Next week, I will try the random word generator and we'll see where that takes us. That might be even more of a stretch, but we'll see. All right, so let's move on to our community topic while we still have a few minutes left. This is inspired also by Geeky because Geeky is also going into virtual MagmaCon this weekend, as I am. And the question or the topic arose of TTRPG snacks, right? What are your favorite snacks when you are playing at the table? Now, MagmaCon is virtual, so we're not all going to be at the table together, but that doesn't mean we're not all going to be snacking. And I thought talking about TTRPG snacks would be a very fun community topic and also, wouldn't be drawing on like another 30 minutes. You geeky, I swear. This is my snack. I will be eating jelly beans because Geeky says so. So before I do that, I will end on that. What are your favorite snacks at the table? Or if you're a writer and you're not doing TTRPGs, what are your favorite snacks? Do you snack while you're writing? Because I know some people who do. I had at one point when I was very much into my whiskey days, not that I'm not, I still love whiskey, but I would always like to write with just a glass of whiskey. I don't do that so much now. I don't drink that much as much anymore, but I also have gut issues, so my snacks are not fun. And I feel like I need to live vicariously through you all. Because my snacks these days are like pork rinds, sugar-free candy or chocolate, and nuts, which, I mean, they can be fun. Like there's like spicy chili nuts and there's like fun flavors that are starting to come out, but it's still like, it's not anything great and fun. Now, when I play monthly with my friends, there's one guy, there's one particular gas station he goes to because they have like the weirdest flavor chips. And so it's always a fun little like surprise grab bag when he shows up of like, what did you find at the gas station? Because he'll find, I don't know, donut flavored chips, birria flavored chips, this candy that has like some weird thing on the inside of the candy that's like an opposite flavor, like just weird stuff. So it's always just fun to have them open at the table. And even though I don't get to like eat in a lot of them, I get to watch everyone else talk about how this chip is horrible and this chip is so weird. Like, I think there was like a churro flavored chip and everybody was so like, I don't want to like it, but I kind of like it. And we kept passing the bag around. Oh no. Okay, I guess I'm doing 2 random beans. When I'm feeling extra, I try to match them to the game being played. Oh my gosh. I used to do that too. I do cooking a lot for like the game that I play in. Not all the time. But for a while there, I was trying to theme it up with whatever was happening in the game. After a while, it got a little hard. I think the number one thing I made, which was really fun, I think we were in the Feywild, and I made brownies, but then I like iced it and then created like, I used strawberries and vanilla chips to make like these little mushrooms, like toadstool mushrooms on top of the brownies. It was so much fun. All right. So if you can share what your favorite TTRPG snack is, I would love to hear it. We also have the same friend, I think, who brings all the weird stuff. He's brought in freeze-dried candy, which when I splurge, I will eat the freeze-dried candy because there is something about the texture that is wild, and I am kind of like addicted to it. So like I have to either not participate at all, or if I eat one, then it's like I can't just eat one. I will eat that entire bag. So if you haven't tried freeze-dried candy, go check that out. There's so many different flavors. I think the major ones are like freeze-dried Skittles, and they have like the sour Skittles. There's freeze-dried Spree, I think, or like there's so many different ones. Freeze-dried lemon heads, which they're good, you know. Give them a try. So much fun. Okay. I am going to redeem these random beans because my friends are mean to me. And they're hoping that I get here we go. They're hoping that I get licorice stout this weekend. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay. This one does not feel like licorice. And I'm getting green or I'm getting pop. You know, I haven't had a popcorn one in a while. I'm getting green or I'm getting popcorn. I'm not sure. No! No! I knew it! Oh. No, this is horrible. Nope. No, come on, you guys. Now that I've had the taste of licorice in my mouth, I'm really rethinking doing the thing with the 10 licorice jelly beans all at once. Oh no. All right. Thank you for redeeming Random Bean. I have a second one to redeem. Here we go. All right, let's go popcorn. Give me a popcorn. Although, I don't know. This one's giving me pink vibes. Are you guys seeing it? I think it's giving me pink. Don't you redeem another one. I heard it. My eyes are not open, but I can hear you. Come on, pink. Oh. Was I right on that one? Was I right on that one? That feels like a pink. Ha ha ha. Oh, good. You redeemed hydrate. I was so worried you were doing another one. Okay. I do have to end this stream, you know. All right. Save it all for my writing stream. My raising funds stream. My oh how. You know what that licorice is just making me all bamboozled. Woo. Thank you for redeeming. Also, thank you for letting me end on what I think is a strawberry. Anyway, here we go. Get the taste of licorice out of my mouth. I think that was like strawberry watermelon water. I can't remember what flavor I put in there. Anyway, folks. All right. Let's wrap up for today. I will not be doing a writing stream today. However, Virtual MagmaCon is going on right now. And in about 2 hours, I'm going to be doing a seminar on how to adapt TTRPGs for the younger generation. So think about your Tomb of Horror, and it's like, man, I really wish my kids would be able to play this, but it's so dark. Well, guess what? You can adapt Tomb of Horrors or any adventure and make it acceptable however you want to do it for the younger generation, or for grandma, or for, you know, your friend who just does not like blood and gore, whatever it is. There's ways to adapt TTRPGs. I'm going to do that seminar in a couple hours at MagmaCon. So if you don't have your badge and you want to go to it, make sure you get your badge and then register. Other than that, encouragement of the day, don't forget, take 2 random words, string them together, make a great story. I will see you next week. I love you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Just have a wonderful weekend. All right, everybody. I'm gonna sign off. Here we go.